right now. I'm not sure.
Ooh, wow, that coffee's bad.
Compliments to the barista.
There's no going back now because we're filming, we're live, we're doing it,
Yep.
and like I don't care enough, so I'm just gonna struggle through it for the next half an hour.
Go for it, man.
We should really get a coffee sponsor.
Wow,
Grata, hook us up, son.
that would be grata.
I should probably talk to my bosses about that.
Yeah, probably. This AC is not doing the trick.
This Assassin's Creed isn't doing the trick.
There's probably going to be a lot of moments where if you look at me and the references gone flying over my head, just proceed and I'll catch up.
That's just
fine.
me interacting with pretty much every human. Yeah.
Too warm.
You should see some of the comments that I make to people. Oh, I had an election party last weekend. Like, that's sort of where my references lie at the moment.
By the way, congratulations.
No, yes, it was a fantastic day for us Redshirts.
Absolutely.
Smash the Conservatives into the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
It was a bit of a landslide victory.
A bit, yes.
You know, it's actually funny. Like I went to obviously because it's a mandatory thing to vote for all Australian citizens. So
Yeah, not you Canadians.
not me Canadians. So yeah, I got out of that, but I didn't really hear anything about it. Maybe it's just me.
Our election cycle's gone a bit screwy with...
Yeah.
It was only a state election also. If it was much
Yes.
more of a federal thing, it'd be big news. That's when you see things all over social media.
And we don't like do the campaigns and pageantry like they do over in the US.
You don't do the stadium tours.
No.
No.
Unfortunately, no.
No.
Pleasure-
Early
pleasure
voting has made campaigns a very different thing.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have actually.
Have to
yeah.
buy people.
It's
early.
very relaxed now. I can't just like driving past Consquare. Oh yeah, I may as well vote right now
Yeah. Yeah.
May as well do it
with
now.
like minimal thought or effort.
Yeah, I might as well do
yeah,
it.
pull
Don't want to
over.
get fined.
Yep.
And I saw the sausage sizzles out.
Fun fact:
Sweeten
I
the
actually
deal.
checked out what the fine is in Australia if you do not vote.
How much is it?
Have a guess.
$50?
$40.
40?
It's like 85 or something.
$50?
According to the AC,
AEC.
that one there, Australian Electoral Commission, $20.
Is it only 20? But
Really?
it does compound if you don't vote multiple times.
Ah, I see. Because I got fined $40 once because I completely forgot.
Now that has a catch to it because if you just never pay the fine, you never have to pay the fine.
Yes, it is a strange thing. I'm not...
True.
My lovely grandfather has never voted in his life. He's been here 50 years.
Apparently, if you never sign up, you don't have to vote
No, you
either.
don't. As soon as you signed up, bam, you're in it for life.
Well, that's like the library card mentality. It's like, you know, you can steal the book,
That's
but
Australia in a nutshell, really.
That really is.
you guys are just one giant library.
With books with no words in them.
One old communal cesspool.
yeah.
Very accurate. Very accurate. Well, anyway, welcome to the Live Room podcast.
Yeah, we're in it
everybody.
now. We've nailed the cold opens.
Ah,
And
We're
now
getting
that, now that the AC is on, it's getting chillier, so
Yes,
it's getting
it is.
colder.
that's nice.
Obviously, you know, the usual cast of characters here, and our good friend Jared joining us.
Welcome, Jared.
Jared Hanley, front and center.
Yes,
How we
thank you very
going?
much for having me. Yeah, I'm really well. That's
good.
So, I wake after work, which is nice.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Coffee helps.
Oh, it
Yeah.
does.
So does tea.
Now, Jared Hanley is a guest on the podcast that we just Tyler and I were walking down the street one day and we just happened to bump into Jared downstairs here, just in front of the cafe.
Oh, yeah.
I think Tyler and I were walking out and we just see Jared walking past and we're like, oh, hey, familiar friend Jared. What's going on? Turns out this is quite a musical guy, Jared. Tyler has known him since high school days. I used to work with
Year
this
8,
guy.
year 9, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Middle of Kangaroo Flat.
Yes, yeah.
A wonderful year spent there.
Absolutely.
And more or less, we just thought he'd be a great guest for the show. Not our typical guest. I mean, we're some rock and roll nerds around here, really. Honestly.
Slayer.
Slayer. We're talking about Slayer on the last podcast, quite literally.
Yes,
And
I
we
have
play
been
money
mostly
for
keeping up.
nothing. But Jared's a bit different.
Mm.
Different, not different in a negative way or negative connotation. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I do understand a certain amount. I used to play bass guitar. However, my main musical stream is in brass banding, so a very traditional British thing, and it's helped me get into musical theatre and orchestral playing and concert bands and all that kind of stuff. And I conduct as well, which keeps me fairly on my toes, literally and figuratively. And that's where I spend the majority of my time. So I play in community ensembles and do all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's-
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
Pretty much it.
Absolutely. It's very different to what we used to. As we said, we get people from like just rock and roll bands or people that are in different like roadie positions, like anything like that. So it's nice to get someone that kind of fills in that gap of like music's a very broad thing.
Definitely.
So you represent a whole lot of knowledge that we haven't really even tapped
Classically
into yet.
trained.
Yes, I
Kinda.
suppose you could put it that way.
Yeah.
It's like the old difference between like I hate to put people in camps like this, but there's always like the people who can read sheet music, and then there's the people who don't. And I've always felt like there's just it's
a
like
divide between the two.
Yeah, a divide between the two. But actually, it's not that big of a divide. It's only like how you perceive it. But at the end of the day, man, it's music.
Exactly.
So what does it matter?
Yeah, and
It's just music, man.
sheet music is something that's obviously had been ingrained in me since I was about 10 when my grandfather started teaching me music. So I'm
Yeah.
quite around that. However, having experience in bass and working with musical theatre musicians and guitarists, that some have come into it in a community level and gone, well, I can't read sheet music, and you help them and you get through that or write the chords out and go from there. So it's not necessarily a divide. It's just whether you want to camp people because of it or whether you just work with it and go, all right, this is what we've got.
Yeah,
this is how we do it.
That's
So-
exactly right.
It's like musical language, and different musical instruments have a different dialect.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
you're a translator, so to speak. You know, you can read the tabs if you want to help out a person like myself who can only read tabs. That's actually a lie. I can read sheet music. Fun fact. I played violin for like 5 years.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like I can read it as well. It's just
FACE. I remember that shit.
it's just very, very slow. Like I can look at, I can see, whether it's treble or bass clef, and I got to figure out, okay, obviously the notes are different for both, and then I got to look at them. I'm like, all right, that's a C here. This one is a C here. So it's like,
Let me see here.
yeah.
I'm not even at that level myself. Like, I mean, I've done a lot of those Australian Musical Examination Board exams.
Yep. That good old AMEB.
Yeah, I'm about to do some more, but I really want to do the theory-based ones because
oh yeah,
that's the bit I don't know
it's a
about.
necessary evil, man.
And it really is. I want to challenge myself and do that, but at the moment, like I used to be able to like sight read and stuff when I did classical guitar, but it's just I reckon if you don't train it, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with everything. It's a completely different language. And
It is.
sheet music itself, you're pulling from Latin, from Italian, from French. There's so many different things that you have to understand. And know.
Absolutely.
Like I had last weekend played with the Bendigo Symphony Orchestra at a concert and played on alto trombone, which is in a different pitch to what I'm used to. It's in E flat. Strange, evil little thing that they are. And the music traditionally is written in a different clef. So I've had to jump in and go, all right, where's C? Where's my reference point? And then work from there. And I only sort of had 3 rehearsals because I kind of just went, okay, I better do this now. So
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Learning on the fly.
was it alto trombone?
alto trombone, yes.
So, and you normally play baritone,
I'm normally a baritone horn player.
and that's what B flat,
Yeah, most brass instruments you'll find are in B flat.
B flat.
And then a couple are in E, and then tubas are in sort of any clef that they want to be in.
Yeah.
So yeah, mainly B flat, which is great. So
Yeah.
I can read concert pitch music, and somebody will say, "Play me a C." It's like I can do that. That's a concert thing. It's fine.
yeah.
But yeah,
I suppose sometimes you have to challenge yourself as well.
oh definitely.
Yeah.
It can get. I've played just about every instrument in the brass band itself and run around from cornet down to tuba, and it's nice in that environment to then be able to change and challenge yourself on something different. I suppose it's similar with the types of bands that you guys would join in that circumstance.
Yeah, for sure.
Jump in. There's a completely different. There's a tonal quality thing, and there's also the challenge of dealing with a different pitch, playing
Yeah.
trumpet and cornet, which is so high to what I'm used to. So
Yeah, for sure.
You could relate that to, guitar to bass guitar and even ukulele. It's like
Yeah,
more
yeah.
or less the same instrument. It's in the same musical family,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you're dealing with different tunings.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
It's like
That's
picking up-
interesting. Yeah, I've just never made that correlation with brass instruments, but it makes total sense.
Well, they're all different. I mean, obviously you've got your guitar and bass, which are E, A, D, G, or B, E if you've got a 6-string one. Then ukulele, which is tuned to its own thing, and you've got banjo, which is 5-string, which one of the strings only goes halfway up the fretboard. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
it makes sense that everything, but it's got its own character, and it's good being able
It
to
all
be
fits.
a master or wearer of many hats, especially in like a classical sense or something like that. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it follows through into musical theatre as well. When the last one that I've just worked with Greece and as a musical director, which was the first working with Tribe in Bendigo, and I had 2 guitarists, upright bass and bass guitar, kit player, keys, and 2 saxes. Keys and two sax players.
Jeez, that's
fantastic.
like a perfect band, man. Oh
It
my
was
God.
Yeah.
really an excellent group of musicians to work
Yeah.
with, and having to sort of work, and I was sort of saying before, it's just like, I don't know how amps work. I don't know how to change
Yeah.
tonal quality. Like, it's like, there's things that you can do there. Please change it to be somewhat more like, and find the descriptive words. And they did it, and which was excellent, because I would have had no idea. But yeah, I had to really wrap my head around things and go, okay, guitarists can do this, and kit players can, it's a whole
Yeah.
new world.
Well, that's like a topic we've kind of touched on before. Is like, as someone who's like, I guess, in charge of this musical endeavor, is that element of trust. If you don't know how it's done, you kind of trust the person that's doing it, that they know how it's done.
Exactly.
And yeah, it sounds like that was really successful in this particular one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you've got to have, you gain the musician's trust as well by understanding and knowing that they are the one playing that, and obviously have an understanding of it. So there's
Yeah.
there's a two-way street going on there, and it's the same when I have worked in smaller ensembles with no conductor or anything like that. You have to understand that they are playing their instrument, and you are either accompanying that or working together to create something else.
Yeah.
So if you're not broad-minded enough, then that's at your own detriment in music.
Yes.
It's a very different thing to.
I used to have a very narrow-minded approach in terms of music. Like, I mean, I'm all about the rock and roll stuff, but like back in high school, I had the most negative experience. I don't know if I've told you guys this before.
Please.
It was my freshman year of high school, and I had taken a intro to music class. So it was learning guitar and keyboard. So I was like, okay, I already know guitar, man.
I got this.
I got this down. And then I show up to class, and then I realize, oh shit, I've got to learn to sight read and play classical guitar. I'm not down for this.
Yeah.
I was only down to rock and roll at that time, at about 13 years old or whatever I was. So I remember butting heads with my music teacher at the time, who told me I will never be a good musician because I can't sight read. And I'm like, you are so full of shit. So I just dropped off that train. I dropped out of the class.
Yep.
And that's what it was. And it took me a long time to realize, okay, there doesn't have to be this divide. It's only up here where the divide is, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter where the sounds come from or how you do it, as long as you're making music, that's great. But I used to, like you said, put it in two different camps.
Yeah.
But that was on me. And obviously I've come to my senses since,
Saying that, high school music teachers are notoriously terrible
Yes.
and just cannot manage.
This guy was a real prick, I'll say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not something
That's
that's
not-
just exclusive to
Like, that's
a
not
country.
uncommon.
Yeah.
It's,
I know.
It's
It seems to be a
universal.
common theme across the globe there.
Oh, there you go. I'm not alone.
Not that I really had a dedicated music program with
Yep.
school and that, but just from what I gathered and my experience with talking to other musicians from around the place, seems to be a very
Yeah.
correlating factor there.
It's a shame, but I mean, at a young age, you can divide kids. But like now, being in the position where I am with the studio, I need people who are capable of reading music, and I've recorded people who can read music, and I can just reference bar numbers. Like, okay, I'm gonna punch you in at bar 162. They flip the pages. I get it.
Yeah.
That's where we're picking up from.
For
So
sure.
it's like
That's the beauty
You can
about
find some,
structure, right?
the common denominator, even if you don't understand each other's languages.
This seems like a podcast that's going to be jumping all over the place because
Yeah.
it's just too many. It's like we're translating two different languages here.
Exactly.
Like the whole
Yep.
loose, more relaxed approach, more improvisational, the more ego-driven guitar sort of approach to music versus classical, quote unquote. Which
Yes.
leads me to the question. From experience in the past, I may have been the example in this story. But when you have a group of like guitarists or like a high school band, egos typically get in the way and people want to showboat and get in front of other people. It seems with a more like classical ensemble, that doesn't really fly. Can you elaborate on that?
I would say that there are certainly egos and that sort of element that comes out in musicians, and it doesn't matter what position they hold. And that's a really big thing in classical music and brass banding, orchestras and all that sort of stuff. Your part is numbered. You are sectioned off by your instrument and then segregated almost to a certain extent by what part you're playing for that. So I play first baritone in my brass band, which is not a solo instrument by any stretch. There are two baritone parts. I play the first one, which is traditionally higher, more sort of showy stuff to support other players. And you will see that I have worked with people before that will take that number one position and go, all right, well, I need to be the loudest. I need to be the one doing the solo, that sort of stuff.
Gotcha,
And
yeah.
that does happen. However, you do have, because there's, say, 30 people in a room all playing on the same part, and there's somebody then standing in front of you, almost in a sort of dictatorial, fascist kind of way, going, no, this is the sound that I want, and I'm directing the ensemble, so you have to listen to me. And if they don't agree with that, then that's their problem. They either leave or do whatever they will.
They're not a team player at that
No,
point. You know?
and you really have to be on board with that.
Definitely.
So, and that's not necessarily just in orchestras
Excuse
or
me.
whatever, but I've played in jazz groups where it's been very much the same. Somebody's always wanted a solo, and it's like, well, that's great, and we know you're capable of it, but there are some others that can do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's not just limited to a rock and roll world or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's, God, I've had some concert masters in orchestras, which is usually the first violinist. They're the ones that tune everybody up before the conductor comes on stage.
Yeah.
Oh, some of them have been horrible. They have no idea of the brass section, and they give us like a split second to tune, and then always tell us that we're playing too loudly, despite the fact that we're coming in the last bit to finalize the symphony or something. And
it's
like,
kind of the point of it. You
Exactly.
know? It's an
We're here.
uplifting, overwhelming.
yeah,
boom.
we're here for tone color. Just play your part. You're more special than us because you hold that position, but it doesn't mean you have to rule over us.
No,
But
not
some
at
of them
all.
do. So,
So many moving parts.
Power, man.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So many
Can
moving
corrupt.
parts there.
Well, it's kind of a serve the song thing.
Definitely.
In doing obviously production and stuff, it's like, oh man, I want to repeat this section for 2 bars, and I want that guitar lead to go for 2 bars, and it's just going to be so special. But it actually starts to lose its luster the more you repeat stuff like that. So you need to know when to step back. You need to know when to pull your head and just say, look, I'm here. I'm lucky enough to be in the orchestra pit in section A, playing whatever. How about I just take that in stride and just do my part,
Yeah.
do my best, keep my head down, and it is what it is. So sometimes like ego can get in the way, like you were mentioning before.
It's just a part of being a creative in general.
Yes.
is ego,
Yes.
like minding your ego. So something everyone has to keep in check all the time, I suppose, or at least attempt to.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at, in terms of rock and pop music to a certain extent, it evolved due to cultural and societal need, whereas orchestras, brass bands, all that kind of stuff were set up, brass bands in particular, because they are kind of my hobby horse. They're 250 years old as an idea, and they were set up for workers in England to not go out and drink. They gave them this role outside of work, and gave them an instrument and said, you play this, you march,
All right.
you represent the factory, the coal pit or whatever. So there was a structure from the beginning that told them what was going on. Whereas in other facets of music, it's evolved. There has been no clear organizational structure as such. But
Was it specifically like a anti-alcohol sort of initiation there?
Well,
they wanted to
Yeah.
keep their workers clean and not
Not
sort of
dirty.
decimated or whatever on the weekends, and not interacting with the people on street
Use
corners
their
and all that sort of stuff.
use
Yeah.
their creative juices for good, I guess,
Yes.
like it gives people a hobby.
How was
in other
that? How was
words.
that perceived back then, historically speaking? Like, was it like a forced thing, and you're punished if you don't, or was
No.
it strongly encouraged?
It was strongly encouraged. So these companies would invest in instruments and supply them to the musicians, and it got to the point in the late 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, where these bands were becoming, the competing nature had come out of it, so people would then audition for these parts if they worked for the factory.
Yeah. Okay.
British Leyland, the old car manufacturer, used to have their own band, which
Yeah.
still exists, but just obviously not with the car manufacturer. So they, encouraged it, and now it's become a community thing. It just hasn't died. So
That's awesome.
it's
Yeah.
a weird world when you look into it.
Yeah,
Can't
no
help
doubt it
but
would be.
feel there's a bit of status in there also.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh yes, I'm the leading tromboner. Like,
I was wondering how long that joke would take to come back out. I can just
sorry,
remember
I'm
that.
sorry.
Oh, it doesn't take very long.
No.
Tromboner envy.
Tromboner envy.
Tromboner envy. Well, yes, that's a thing. Trombonists have equipment envy.
We were talking about pianist envy on a previous podcast. I thought you'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. My studies are in English, so if you do wordplay, I will laugh.
Fantastic.
Just to jump back a little bit, you said like your grandfather taught you in your early days, and you also said that like classical music has a lot of English heritage. Is there a correlation there with you? Like, is your grandfather of English descent? Is there
No,
a family
well-
tree or?
There is a little bit of a family tree. My family dates, well, we're I think I'm third generation Aussie, so full in terms of being born here, and my family's all from the south of England, in the UK. So we have traits back to times when piano players there's silent movies ago and somebody would be there, and brass banding. My grandfather was in the same brass band I'm in now.
Cool.
And then his daughters didn't really get into it. It was still very male dominated in the 70s and 80s. So when I was showing an interest in music, he just sort of gave me a baritone and said, here's how we read music. And this is where we go. And I joined it when I was 10. So yes, it's been going on for a little while. I can blame him. My mother certainly does.
Hey,
So,
it's just your genetics, man. You can't help it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
so it's kept me fairly entertained for 15 years.
That's true, but it's good to have kind of that lineage thing. It's like you can say it's like the same kind of thing as like, oh, I went to the same high school my father went to, or I did something that somebody else did or something. But it's good, you can have that correlation through music. So yeah, I'd definitely be proud of that.
Yeah, because I was listening to all of the podcast as well, and you guys were saying like it was more musical taste of parents that sort of got you involved in all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, in my experience with my family, like my mum or dad, I've tried teaching them guitar before, and they're like, I don't know how to make my hands move this way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fine. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. That's fine. But it's kind of skipped that generation. So my parents can't play anything, but my grandfather's a very accomplished guitarist over in Holland and stuff. So, I've heard from lots of different people that it can skip that generation. So I'm hoping my kids get into music still.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
I hope so. They got Big Ted as a dad.
Oh yeah, best dad ever.
You'd really hope if you had Fender Strats and Gibsons on your wall with kids growing up that they would want to be interested in that.
No,
Just have
Dad,
them-
I want to play soccer. No.
Have them high
play
enough.
guitar.
Have them high enough that they're just out of reach.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key.
That will will a
That's
child on.
true. Yeah.
Yes.
Because they always,
I'll sticky
what they
tape it
can't
to the
have,
roof.
right?
God knows I'm going to keep mine out of reach.
Yeah.
I can't reach it now.
I know. I know you can.
Strategically play.
I was about to say, that's by design, I presume.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I mean, all my valuable ones are actually down here because I've been playing them lately. But generally, they sit on top of the booth, just
Or I just hold them, apparently.
or you just hold it. You can
I got stuck with this at the start of the podcast. I don't know
Why
where I
not?
put it.
I'll
so-
take it off your hand.
pass it around.
Let's,
Jump on that.
so that's the thing, and you do.
Dude, it's comfy as. I love a Stratocaster.
Well, you invest in these things. Like
Yes.
I lived in
yeah.
England last year for 8 months, and whilst I was there, played with the brass band, and we went to the national championships in September. I had sworn to myself at the start of the year, don't buy anything that you cannot bring back with you.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pain in the bum. I then bought an instrument that then got its own seat on the flight back to Australia because I was not game enough to put it in cargo because of how much it's worth.
I have a question for you. So I'm going back home next week. I'm bringing my Strat.
Oh.
I have a flight case, so I'm not worried about it because I've flown with a more expensive bass guitar in a really not aged well case, and I paid for it. Like as in, it did get a little bit damaged. When it comes to buying a seat for a guitar, do you have to pay like sticker price for the actual seat, or is it?
So I learned the hard way because
Yes.
I'd already bought my ticket for myself and then had to add it on.
Yes.
So I paid a bit. I still saved money overall on the instrument
Yes.
and paying for the seat on the way back, but it's best to buy it at the same time.
Yeah.
I've learned that. And then for some stupid reason, Emirates will ask for the instrument to have a name. But that's
So what did you name it?
It was called Frobisher on the flight back. And I confused the staff with it.
Did you get the spelling right?
I think so. I hope so. It's in a box somewhere. I can find out and let you know.
awesome.
But yeah, I would, if you can, buy the ticket together and just state when buying it that, yep, it's an instrument. They are airlines are great about it. If you've
Yeah.
got somebody that's been there for more than 6 months, they will understand because cellists will do it. Viola players will buy
Yeah.
things like that. Double bassists have the worst
Oh.
time moving their stuff about, but
Yeah.
they're very accommodating for it. These kind of things don't fit in overhead compartments.
Well, I was reading the guidelines for Qantas. It's like you have certain amount of length for the instrument, which would really only classify as like a very small traveler guitar or violin or something like that. But when I came over here, I brought my bass.
Yep.
And I called United ahead of time, and I'm like, all right, so what's the go? I don't want to have this thing in the undercarriage of the plane because I know what's going to happen. So they said, just, bring it on, carry it on with you. It'll get checked in when you're about to board.
Yep.
They'll put it somewhere safely, and then you'll hand it back to them, or they'll hand it back to you, or you can just put it in a closet.
Yes.
If you ask for it. So my first flight was fine. I checked it in, I got it back afterwards. And the second flight, they're like, oh, no, you're going to have to put that under the plane. And I was like, oh, no.
Yep.
And I was, on the side of the plane where, you can see everybody loading everything in, and I see it getting wheeled on the runway, and I'm like, oh, here it goes.
Yeah.
So then I open it up when I get to Australia, and I see the nameplate had popped off. The little screws holding that in were, out of the headstock. So, it could have gone worse.
Yes. And I've seen so many incidents happen, like trombones, which aren't just fragile things to begin with, that have come back and they've just been crushed some way or another. It's not nice. Yeah, if you can get good stuff, which you've obviously had before, and explain to them.
Yes.
Because they are just humans. They do get it. Because this one woman harassed me on the flight, and it turns out it had been her 3rd day as a flight attendant.
Yeah.
And she just had no idea why I'd put this thing there. She's just like, no, but there's a name on this seat. This is the named thing. Like, I bought the ticket, trust me. And this woman had come up and just sort of shuffled her across and just said, just it's okay, sorry, she's new. Like,
Yeah.
if you get somebody that knows.
Just open that door over there as the plane's in the sky, would you?
Yeah. Just pop her out.
Damn.
Obviously not worthy.
See you
but,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why I got a proper flight kit. I mean, I spent like $200 on a case for this thing, man. Like, you got to do it.
It's the best investment, man. I played that music festival in top of Queensland earlier this year. And I brought my Aerodyne jazz bass, and I had a flight case that I bought with one of the SKB ones, and I was really worried about it. I'd never traveled with an instrument before.
It's nerve-wracking, man.
Yeah.
I paid, I think it was $25 each way to have it checked in and in the stowaway
Yeah.
carriage underneath, and I was really worried, just like you were with the Rickenbacker, but no damage, not even to the case.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And if, like, I know tuba players with orchestras that have spent about $1,200 on a flight case. It is an industrial thing
Yeah.
Yes.
that they take on. And for some stupid reason, Brisbane Airport still managed to damage what was on inside of it. So you can have those unfortunate incidents.
you can.
It's just,
Even stage to
it
stage,
sucks.
like.
Yeah, but if you get people that know and can explain it to them, this is like, you see a surfboard case and they really gently pick them up. But
I saw a picture on Reddit yesterday, and it was a picture of an acoustic guitar case, obviously going into the sliding thing into the undercarriage of the plane, and it had green tape on it, duct tape, and it said "baggage handlers are sexy" written on it. So it's like, obviously this is going to work in your favor, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Going the extra mile is going to pay off.
Yeah.
compliment
100%.
them. Like duct tape a bottle of beer or something to it. So
Yeah.
somebody go like, ooh, look.
you're good looking.
Yeah.
The most important question, though, like I've never flown international or even out of state with an instrument. But if you're paying for an instrument to sit next to you with a name, do you get an extra meal?
No, I didn't. And I was very disappointed by it. Mainly because
This
apparently
instrument's a living thing.
Yeah.
It
Has
needs
to
to
have
have
a human head. Like, what's in the paperwork?
Woody.
What's it? Well, this is the thing. I couldn't quite understand why they wanted a name for it. Like, why couldn't it just be called Jared Handley 2 or something? Like, I don't
Jared
understand.
Handley the second.
Yeah, I
2.0
don't know why
Junior.
it had to have its own name. I should have called it Junior. That would have been better. But like this poor Kiwi woman that was sitting, because I came back from Abu Dhabi, went to Melbourne, and the flight then connected to Auckland. And this woman was sitting. Was already there, and I plonked this thing down, and she's just like, "What's going on?" I'm just like, "It's all right. You've got some more leg room. Don't question the thing. I'm going to go to sleep, and if you wake me up, I'm going to kill you." But she just sort of was
Started playing
confused for the next 11 hours. She just kept sort of asking me. She's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "It's a musical instrument. Can you leave me alone now, please?" Like, she just didn't get it.
It's not a bomb. He said
It's-
a bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a bomb.
That's the inevitable.
They just didn't get it. And you get, I don't know how, whether you've been hauling something through and then I got stopped 3 times going through Heathrow because they were just like, "What is it?" It's like, these are staff. These are guys that have got badges on that are security. And they're just like, "We want to see it." I'm like, to unlock it and open it so many bloody times.
That's interesting. I was doing some reading on that same Reddit page. I was doing some lurking of the comments as they do. And I was just reading, and I saw like somebody got stopped because they had a suitcase full of games, like GameCube games and stuff. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm bringing all of my American Super Nintendo games back to where they belong.
Ooh.
Obviously, because I can't play them here, so I might as well just
That
take them
PAL
home.
thing, isn't it? Or whatever.
Is it PAL? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
PAL here is and NTSC is at home.
Yep.
So I've got my Square cartridges for Super Nintendo, and I'm just bringing them back as well as some boxed games, just because I can't play them, so I might as well take them back there. So I'm gonna like bubble wrap them, put them in a box, and I'm like, they're gonna run them through the scanner. They're gonna see that there's chips and boards, and
They're gonna wanna open
They're
it
gonna gut them
up.
open. They're gonna
There's
open
a
up
little
the cartridge.
baggie in one of them that you forgot about.
There's a little bit of crystal meth in there, but that's it, man.
Hey, be careful of that Bomberman 2 cartridge.
Scans through.
trying to
Comes up
think-
as a warning message.
It's an explosive game.
Yeah.
But that, I don't know. Flying with anything that's sort of remotely valuable is always just
Stressful.
Well, that orange there I brought as carry-on. I literally carry that over with me, like on my side, because I wasn't going to trust, because there's tubes and valves in there. They would have gotten damaged. So
That was one of the big reasons behind the more miniature side guitar heads, I'm pretty
The
sure.
lunchbox
Yeah.
size thing.
So Joe
yeah.
Satriani made one of the first ones.
I think so.
Yeah.
He did
In like
the
the
first of most things with guitar.
You're not wrong. But like in the promo video, it's like, yeah, I can take this on the flight. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's a selling point, but hey, it's pretty handy.
pre-Helix
pretty
days.
pretty damn handy there.
that's the thing though. But yeah, you don't trust them with it. That's
No,
that's just the thing.
never trust anybody else with anything else.
No,
Doesn't
that's
matter who they are or what the value is. Just
why I've always envied bloody clarinet and trumpet players because they can just haul their instrument on their back. It's like I don't have that luxury.
yeah,
It's a pain. But oh well.
yeah. Be careful when you travel. Obviously.
I'll note that I've never left the country.
Yeah.
One
Do it,
day
it's
you will.
worth it.
I've crossed the Tasman Sea once, but
You've
that's
been
about it.
overseas.
Yeah. You've been
Technically,
in
I
the sea.
Not to another country, but overseas.
Well,
Over one.
Tasmania. Sometimes some people say it's another country over there.
I've got a lot of family there, and
That's
I agree
it.
with that.
It's a strange little place.
It's
I've never
beautiful.
been.
It is stunning.
We should probably get back to all things musical though.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Um,
Bring it home.
I'm mainly just curious about. I forgot.
I
had
a
question coming into here.
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
You went over to the UK,
Yep.
and on the little synopsis you sent us of all the things you've done recently, you mentioned that you did some work with a couple of brass bands over there,
Yes.
correct? Well, tell us more about that.
Okay.
So I've got a question after that. as well.
Okay.
Follow up.
I lived in Liverpool on the north-west coast of England.
You
and-
lived there?
Yeah,
How long for?
8 months.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're coming second in the EPL at the moment.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, man. Me
Oh,
too.
okay.
English Premier League.
Oh, right. That
Yeah.
thing that I kept avoiding at pubs.
Oh,
right,
the-
fantastic.
The football.
The football.
The football. Yeah.
Don't say soccer. They kill you.
Soccer it is.
Soccer. I don't even know her.
Good lord.
wow,
Get
that
back
took
to
a turn.
Liverpool.
Yeah. So I lived there and played with a band called Formby. So England has another level on top of Australian brass bands and their championships. So we have grades D to A, and they have sections 4 to 1, and then championship on top. And they were in the middle. They were in third section, and when I left, they'd been promoted to second. So I played with them for 8 months and went to the championships with them in third section. And I also played with a band called Flixton, which is from Manchester, which is about a half an hour train ride across. And I got roped in at the very last minute to go and do the Whit Friday competition, which is the 6th, I think it's the 6th Friday after Easter. It's a very strange thing involved in the Christian calendar that I don't quite understand. But there's these villages outside of Manchester on the northeastern side. They're very picturesque. They're in rolling hills. And they had marches for the churches in the morning, and then they roped in their local brass band, and then they would say thank you by putting on a competition. So you go, you march down the street, and then you perform a march to a guy in a caravan, usually in a paddock, that then adjudicates you. And I played with them on solo horn which was just nuts, because I've seen the Whit Friday marches on YouTube with all of these bands that I just idol, and then finally got to go and listen and played, I think, in 6 of the 11 in one of the areas, and then one competition late at the night. So it has to finish when the sun goes down, which that time of the year in England is about 10:30. So all of these poor people are just up, and there's swathes upon swathes of people about. So I played with them, which was great and fantastic experience. They were a grade above Formby again, so
two go into one sort of thing.
yeah, two going into one. So the march they picked was really hard. Yeah, standing there and just like says solo horn, and there were solo bits into it. And the conductor was just like, "You can do this," and I'm like, "Yep, great, okay. I really need to practice this, but I have no time." So yeah, that was a fantastic experience.
There you go.
That's always a good opportunity when you're like put on like pressure. You know you can do it. You know what I mean? But it's like you gotta say to yourself, "Oh, I gotta practice." But you become a better player for it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's good experiences like that.
Definitely. And in an ensemble where you're with 24 other people that I didn't know. Turns out one of them, funnily enough, is from Tasmania.
there you
She's
go.
married somebody and staying over there now, so we got chatting. But
Her cousin?
no, he was British, but there's quite a
Gee, I'm gonna
possibility.
Turn the air conditioner up in here.
She's not from Queensland. We're not doing the whole.
Come on.
Yeah, but yeah, you're with 24 people that you don't know, and then suddenly you've just sort of got to play with them and then meld together, and it's like
It's
ooh,
difficult.
Okay, yeah, your ears are constantly on.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but no, fantastic experience.
And were the styles of pieces that you were playing, were they all the British style of brass, being in Britain? Or were you doing like Balkan as well? Were you doing New Orleans as well? Are you doing that kind of style?
I've done. It depends really on the ensemble. The band that I'm here play with in Bendigo, City of Greater Bendigo Brass, we're very open to new music and do lots of different styles. And
Cool,
there's
yeah.
groups of us that do that kind of stuff.
So you do like Nicki Minaj and stuff like that?
Oh, we haven't verged on that. I have had to do some pop songs with my youth band that I really do loathe. I think we had to do Taylor Swift "Shake It Off" with another youth ensemble at the start of this year, which I hated. It sounds as boring as that too. But in England, there's not a lot of variation. So we did the march that we did was the ORB, which was written, I think, in like 1898. It's just you straight down the line.
This was a good year, man.
Yeah, fantastic.
Good year for music.
Yep. lots
So
of
fresh,
marches.
1899.
Yeah.
My favorite CD.
Skits Mix 1.
But yeah, like the marches are just all just traditional brass band stuff. Our rehearsals are exactly the same.
Yeah.
They're not quite as open to change as what it is here at the moment, but they're getting there slowly.
Yeah, there you go.
It's funny, like I don't have a whole lot of experience with like any brass things other than like in high school, the stereotypical marching band or whatever that will play the really cringy pop song like in the halftime for the football game on Friday night. Like that's as far over as I've ever gotten.
Yep.
Were you lead
Yeah.
snare there, mate? Or?
No, I never got into it. I mean, like it
Were
would
you
actually,
in the football team?
No. I funnily enough,
He was a
actually,
commentator.
I regret not playing basketball in high school because I actually would have been really good. I loved basketball.
Basketball's great.
Yeah.
You're
I played
very
for a bit.
tall.
I'm not that tall. I'm just your typical white dude. 5'11".
You'd be point guard of the century.
Yeah, point guard.
Yeah.
But I actually really regret not getting involved in a band like that because purely just for rudiments, like practicing traditional grip for snare and whatever, because that's where I'm really lacking for like drums. That's why doing the stuff you do is really good to broaden your
Skill set, right?
skill set. Yeah, that's exactly it. So yeah, never turn anything down.
Yes, exactly. And I'm at this stage now where I'm trying to not be quite as formal, like playing with some jazz group. And I've really just had to relax and memorize the chords in my head and just not think about it. That kind of style is a little bit difficult for me. That's against everything that I know in my nature. But
Jazz.
yeah, it's interesting, particularly on particularly on trombone. It's easier because you've sort of got the slide does all of the work and it's a bit easy to just sort of faff about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like doing it on guitar or bass. But yeah, the rudiments are great, but it's nice to sort of let go and not have any structure and
Yeah.
just have a bit of fun.
Somewhat, right? Because
So,
like, at least from my understanding with jazz, like your traditional jazz musician, they're basically fluent in every scale under the sun.
Yep.
And just kind of go with their gut feeling in the split second of, it's my time to shine.
Yep.
And just, this scale will work, boom.
Yep.
But let's make it sound a bit kooky.
and
Like,
they all
let's
ne-
do this.
They need to know their modes and all of that kind of stuff.
Everything.
And whole tone scales and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Whole tone scales come up a lot in jazz, and they suck to play because they don't make sense.
Yeah.
But
That's the craziest thing about jazz. It's like it is such a discipline, yet you have to be casual and loose about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
I know my shit,
It's
but I
amazing.
also have to sort of be leaned back and playing trumpet whilst having a cigarette out of my mouth and then holding a pint in the other hand and just sort of doing this. I'm like, how does this even work? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But
I think jazz is kind of like that ultimate amalgamation between, well, I guess balance is another word for that, but between knowing your stuff, but also knowing enough stuff
Yes.
to be able to freeball it, really.
I agree.
it's like a yin yang. It's
It is. It's definitely one of the hardest genres to play and be in.
I wanted to be a jazz drummer purely because I
I want you to be a jazz
I
drummer.
really love Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa and
Yes.
all those
Seeing
guys
jazz drummers
in
is- yeah.
in the swing bands, the big bands. I've always wanted to be a drummer in that scenario. So when I was a young, naive teenager, I took jazz drumming lessons for a very short period of time. And it was actually really good learning traditional grip and whatever, but I found that it was holding me back, but I wasn't actually willing to adapt my style to something else. So that became a very stagnant part. But I so much respect jazz, and I would love to do it, man. I would love to be
Yeah.
behind a horn section on the kit and just playing swing and stuff like that, because it's fantastic style of music.
and it's awesome when you have a good kit player just behind you. And
Yes.
you can just sit on it.
You're
MD
just in the
doesn't
pocket,
have to do
man.
anything.
any
Yeah.
genre also, man.
Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You have a good drummer who takes care of all the rest.
I will say, if you have a shitty drummer, your band will sound like shit.
Yeah,
Bar none.
100%.
Bar none.
definitely.
That's why the Sean Orr trio is horrible.
You know what? You're wrong. I'm sorry. You're right.
You know what? You're wrong.
No, but yeah, jazz, man, it's fantastic style of music. I'm actually going to download some swing tonight.
Do it.
Yeah, Buddy Rich stuff. It's good.
I
listen
expect
on
when
the
you
flight.
come back to Australia from America that you're just going to be fluent in anything jazz.
I'll come back.
I'm
with
going
like
to expect it.
That's a
tilted-
bold statement.
Have you met this man?
Yeah.
No. I'm actually disappointed because I was like, oh, I get to play all my drum kits that are at home. Oh, my cymbals are here.
Well, you can get reacquainted with the shells, I suppose.
Yeah.
Are you gonna ship the Vista Lite back?
No.
No. That's your America kit.
Yeah, that's the American. Well, I've got another kit as well. I've got a Blue Sparkle Ludwig Classic Maple kit.
Oh,
It's a really, really nice kit.
lovely.
But this one's here.
That's your Australian kit.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, man. I love it.
Yeah. It's kind of a burden to have musical instruments in each country. Like, oh, I've got a wardrobe over at home in the States that I haven't seen in 3 years.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's just what it is. That's my life.
Yeah.
But enough about me.
More about jazz.
See, I've just got a wall of. I'm just collecting a wall of brass instruments at
Yeah.
home. It's fantastic, but they're all sort of a bit scraggy and a bit weird, but they're fun.
They've got character.
I
I'm
think
sure.
I think that's a common thing. Well, very common thing with any person that takes music from that beginner to intermediate level, where collecting, you have gear acquisition syndrome. You
Yep.
just want to collect and play as much as you
I
can.
have listened to you guys talk about this, and I was just thinking. I was
Guilty.
just sitting there, and I'm like, oh, I'm so bad at that.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
I think I remember you telling me, this is like ages ago at the bottle shop, but I think you were telling me about this ridiculous slide you bought or something. Does that
Yes.
sound right?
Yes. So I had this when I was thinking that I wanted to do more trombone stuff, which is fine. That's a
Yeah.
nice endeavor to have. I bought not stupidly expensive, but it was a stupidly good slide from a company called Bark. Now, I don't like Bark trombones usually, but this slide was excellent. And I had grand plans of plugging it into my Yamaha Bell, which I had at home, because they sort of fit, the bores were right, but the threads were all different. And I had this plan, and it sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there for about 8 months. And then I finally just sold the 2 bits and pieces that I had because I just didn't have the time and couldn't find anybody to do it. And then about 2 months later, somebody said, oh, I learned how to do that when I was in the States. I'm like, damn it. It's like, that stuff's gone, and now I can't have this
Probably an
horn.
easy fix.
Yeah, it would have been really simple. However, I have no handy ability with anything that requires metal or wood or anything that sort of is a traditional thing. I can play a 6-valve stupid C tuba, French C tuba, but I cannot put things together.
Yet you're a massive petrol head.
Yeah.
Yes, I put a fuel pump on my Ford Laser the other day, and that was a fairly good
Hey,
thing.
you had a
It's-
Ford Laser?
Yes, I have a Ford Laser. I have a baby, not a baby. It's a baby Pooh Brown 1984 Laser.
Wow. I have so
Good
much more
year for
respect
the
for you.
Laser.
It
dude.
still won't start. Still won't start.
That's
I think
funny.
Alternator,
Carby's
probably?
no, it's
Carby.
Carby's knackered. It pumps fuel up now. That's a good thing.
That
but
is definitely a good thing.
it's sat for 8 years, and now I have to find out. I want it to start so I know whether the cooling system's knackered, and then I won't know how to deal with that. So I'll just pay for somebody to do it at work.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
yes,
You were always a no, please correct me if I'm wrong, but a Volkswagen Bug guy.
oh god, I still want a Bug.
You'll get
I
one.
cannot.
You work at Volkswagen,
I
man.
do work
Come
at
on.
Oh, I do work. For
You can hit
Volkswagen
up the
now, yes.
clubs and that.
I'm,
Get on the
I'm very
trading
friendly with
post.
the president of the Volkswagen Club. I can
Yeah.
hit you up.
I just need one. I just need a Volkswagen to then shove all of my stupid brass band instruments to and just travel to wherever I need to go. I will happily get rid of my lovely, lovely Saab for a Volkswagen Bug.
That'll be a sob day when that happens.
Oh,
Sorry, guys, that was a really bad one.
Ooh.
We've made some really bad jokes. This
All right,
podcast.
let's change gears here.
Let's put it in reverse.
So Jared, you've done symphony work as well, correct? Like all
Yes.
symphony orchestra stuff.
Yes, so play with the Bendigo Symphony Orchestra when required on trombone, because not orchestral work has brass in it.
Yeah, yep.
I have worked with a number of people individually who are in the orchestral world, so had lessons with trombonists and tuba players and worked with them and conductors, which has been excellent stuff. Then a couple of years ago, I was really lucky to play with the MSO in their Symphony Today project, and
That's
I got
awesome.
to play in Hamar Hall, which was
Oh, dude, how
awesome.
beautiful is that place?
It's stunning.
Very nice.
Well,
I saw Bill Bailey there a couple of weeks ago, and I was blown away just
Yeah.
by the theatre more so than his act.
yeah,
Such a beautiful theatre.
6 floors deep.
Yeah.
and just built into the side of the Yarra River, and you've got this huge, massive, stunning building. And the thing that really struck me is you could go in there, and regardless of the instrument that somebody had in their hands, they could play a note and it would just sing out through it. And that was just an experience, because I was on
Just reverberates. Yeah.
I was playing tuba for that, and I had to pick a tuba that sort of covered this big stretch of music, because there are bass tubas and contrabass tubas, and contrabass is obviously bigger, and I picked a bass to then do all the contrabass work because I could get low enough on it. But this one trombonist who works with the MSO is like, nah, you're not going to be able to fill up, like, you're not going to be able to do it for this concert. I'm like, I'm not bringing 2 tubas down from Bendigo to do this. And the conductor afterwards just sort of came up to me. He's like, that was awesome. And the double bassist came up and he's just like, yeah, no, that was great. That little tuba really sings. And I'm just looking at this professional musician like, you know nothing. There's a reason why I picked
I'll
this
have
up.
your job, thank you.
Yeah, well, not that good of a bass trombonist. However, yes, it was a nice experience to work with that level of, like, there's a half of the professional musicians, and I sort of got asked to come down and help out and do stuff. So,
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's good.
so that was cool.
Can you enlighten me and probably these two, but also our viewers, as like more about like that symphony orchestra world? Because like, to my understanding, you're playing obviously classical music, but just about any music, but it's a mix of all the different types of instruments, including like contemporary stuff, right? As well.
Yes.
So
So,
you could have like an electric bass player.
yes, definitely.
I'll look into that.
Orchestral work is very broad. There's no set definition of what an orchestra or classical music can be.
Yeah.
The Victorian Youth Symphony Orchestra at the moment, this year they've been showcasing new pieces, or reasonably new pieces. One of them last month for their concert was a dance music piece that somebody had arranged for orchestra, and it's got all those sort of tropes of sort of builds up, drop. Yeah, it just it keeps going, and it was excellent to listen to. And you know, that had a full complement of massive percussion section, all of the strings, all of your brass section, and bassoons, all of the reeds, and all that sort of stuff.
That's awesome.
It was really cool. And then you jump back and playing like Renaissance style music, or Bach, or doing one of Elgar's stupidly long symphonies, and there's that big jump. And they can do that because they've got so many different instruments and tone colors. You can manipulate them to create modern music. But people just don't quite think about that.
Have you ever been requested to do Darude Sandstorm? You should.
No.
You should.
You
It
should.
could
Question
be
mark?
epic.
I'm surprised.
Can you pass that on? Just like, talk to the hierarchy of the
I can
symphonic
certainly
orchestra.
try. You may have to remind me of what what it's called, but I can definitely investigate.
It's what I was going to continue singing, but I didn't want to waste 5 minutes of film. So
You would have spent the first 5 minutes just building it up.
yeah,
I wouldn't have said it was a waste at all.
worth every second.
You would have heard the song before, but not
Okay.
many people know that it's called that or it's
Yeah.
by that person.
It's like the most classic techno song. When you think of techno music, that's
okay.
It was like a 2007-ish techno song that just
not
was
even,
massive.
man. This was like 1999.
It's
Wow.
real
Was it
old.
that old?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that
Oh,
old.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like the first popular
Mm.
techno song.
Because there's some really good arrangers like my age and your age rather, that have started cropping up that have been doing all these things. Sorry,
we probably
I just
are.
felt,
I think we're all the same age here.
yeah, I'm
How old are you?
25,
I'm 25.
When were you born?
93,
93. What month?
April.
I'm actually older than all of you guys.
Ah,
Everybody thinks I'm a lot older.
you
Me
whippersnappers.
too. Me too, man. It's the beard.
It is the beard.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, I can't grow it. It gets about half a centimeter long and it just
I'd
sort of
love
stops.
to see
Just
you
get
with
That's
one.
what he said.
Like a big like bird's nest one.
Ooh, really?
House a
Might
couple
clash
of
with my
birds in it.
aesthetic.
Yeah, mate. I dare say it would. Yes.
that's like our first meme on the podcast.
It'll clash with my aesthetic.
I'm glad that
Our
I've
first
been able to
t-shirt
give that
design
to
is
you.
from you.
I will send a bill.
We got to get on the t-shirt game.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Send through these things because there's lots of music that I've tried to arrange before that I like a challenge with that. I've got plans to do an M83 song for a brass band arrangement,
Great.
but I need like a very top-notch brass band to do it with.
Let's
so-
talk about the way you go about writing music. I mean, you're writing for multiple instruments, right?
Mm.
So can you explain that process a bit? And even just writing in like sheet music in general. Do you have like programs or like
Yes.
and how do you conceptualize all these different levels within an orchestra? Because that sounds like a big job.
It's kind of time consuming. So I more arrange music. I don't compose. I'm not that much of a creative, unfortunately.
Well, explain the arranging process.
Arranging, particularly for my level, so I arrange for ensembles, which are usually like a brass quintet. So you've got two trumpets, a horn, trombone, and tuba. That's sort of the most basic one. And you have to understand what the style of music is and then the ranges of the instrument. So then you've got to, in the case of one that I did, which was a full orchestral something.
Sorry, the GoPros just died.
Okay, cool. Goodbye, GoPro. You've lived a lovely life.
It means we're probably 45 minutes in. Rough guide.
So you have to understand the instruments themselves. The last one that I did that worked quite well was pulling apart one of the pieces of music from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Oh,
So there's a lot of good music in there,
Nice.
and there's the Hogwarts hymn, which is what they play after Cedric dies.
Spoiler alert.
It's been out for 20 years. So I pulled that apart and did it as a quartet, so only 4 instruments, and having to pick which lines are the most important,
Yeah.
and then giving them to an instrument. So there's a lot of toing and froing and making sure that it all works, and the most important things from the original are there. So
Hmm.
it took me about 3 months doing it, like a couple of nights a week, because I had to then either find the sheet music or transcribe it and listen to it and figure out what it was, and then arrange it for the instruments. And then I use a program called Sibelius, which is a music writing program, and it's quite good. You can pick all your clefs and do all that sort of stuff, and there's lots of different instruments pre-programmed into it. However, a MIDI file never sounds quite the same as musicians. That
Nope.
Can then
Yeah. We can
then
relate to that with
change it.
Guitar Pro, and you're probably aware of Guitar Pro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's
Very similar program.
Do you have a Mac or a PC?
I have a Mac.
All right. So what
I'm
you
an
can
Apple fanboy.
Yes, me too. So you can bounce out those MIDI tracks and even throw them into GarageBand. And what GarageBand will do is it'll open up all those MIDI files as individual instruments, and then you can change the virtual instrument because GarageBand's really good with the library of sounds that they have. So it will pull apart all the different instruments in that section, and you can do one as like a cello or a violin or whatever. MIDI is your friend. It sounds terrible by itself, believe me, but you can totally shape it into whatever you want. So it's really good for arranging and composing. So
I feel like I
bear that
owe
in
you
mind.
something for that
No,
kind
no,
of
no, no.
information. Because that's just going to change the way I do things.
This
now.
one's a freebie, mate.
yeah. Next time,
This is an
invoices on me.
educational podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
We learn a lot every episode, man.
Yeah.
I can imagine from your perspective, like having different people on. come
Oh,
in and-
dude, it's the best.
yeah, like
I might be
enlisting to it
making
has been
crappy
great.
jokes every so often, but I'm taking this all in. This is gold. Like,
Yes, the arranging process is rather it's a time consuming one. And because I'm not formally trained as such, I don't have a music degree. I do it as something that I love and adore and do it at a community level. I have to do it in my spare time. So
Yeah.
having to jump back into it after possibly a week and you're just like, oh God, where was I up to? Like,
Yeah.
You've got to keep notes on what bit you were doing. So
Yeah.
That's easy done though. I mean, like seriously, like if you arrange and then you export the MIDI file and even put it into GarageBand or Logic Pro, it helps you have a much better view of what you're doing, and you can actually imagine it as sounds other than just the baked in just blech
Yep.
and
It's probably some
Sibelius
more
or whatever.
realistic
Yes.
MIDI files in
Yes.
Ableton and stuff
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
also to make it sound a bit nicer.
Mm.
It's
Absolutely.
supposed to just MIDI 8-bit or whatever it is.
I have messaged friends at presses not knowing this before and just sent them like really rough drafts. And I'm just like, can you play this and send it back to me? Because I don't have it. I don't have your instrument and just send it back. Or then I've locked them all in a room on a Sunday afternoon. And it's just like, we're going to smash this out and I'm going to fix stuff here because I need to know how it sounds. And
Yeah, well, this will save a bit of
Man.
time then for you.
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
that way,
Well,
yeah.
if you need a hand, let me know. I mean, like you can reach me wherever. But if you just even want to bounce me out a MIDI file, I can open up Logic Pro and you can just tell me what things are, and I can send that out to you. That's
Excellent.
no problem at all because I'm
Yeah.
happy to help arrange stuff. Because it's just good for songwriting in general.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
exactly.
I've done this stuff for years and years, so it's a kind of a no brainer for me to do something like that. So
me using these programs, particularly GarageBand and all that, and trying to record stuff is very new for me because I'm so used to just,
I'm in the same boat as you, man.
Yep.
I'm learning
Yeah.
right now.
Yep.
It's a big challenge.
oh, it's huge.
It's like learning another instrument again.
it is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like
Definitely.
I'm just used to being able to pull it out of the case and just play it and not have to have anything assist it.
Yeah,
It's all down to me changing tone and volume and all that. Sort
that's
of stuff.
right.
But,
And obviously you can do that with the best of them, but like using technology to create as opposed to an instrument is a
yeah,
big challenge.
that's and there's a whole lot more that you can do with it.
Mm.
I think it's why there's some really interesting. One in particular, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a euphonium player. He does a lot of stuff on YouTube. He's living in the States at the moment, playing River City Brass Band.
Cool.
And he's does stuff with loop pedals and all this kind of stuff and manipulating his sound on his instrument. And there's another one, I can't remember which state he's from. Another one in the US. His YouTube name is Christopher Bill, and he does multi-tracks on his trombone. All this awesome music that,
Multi-tracks on trombone.
yeah, and with loop pedals and stuff like that.
That's real cool.
Yeah, it's really opened up the options for what soloists and composers and arrangers can do.
If
in
you know how to
violin.
use it, man, it's a powerful tool for, again, arranging and songwriting, and even just like improvising as well. Like, you know, you can start at even something as simple as what we were talking about last time, or one of the other ones, because we can reference, like just a simple,
Take a shot, people.
a simple drum beat. You know, is sometimes all you need just to get the creative juices flowing. You know,
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing at home.
Tyler's been working on a couple projects at the place, and I, swing by, check him in the studio. and yeah,
pad.
just listening, like, just having. Yes, it's a bachelor pad.
Very much so.
It's
Very
like the
much so.
ultimate bachelor pad. It is,
Really?
objectively. We live together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're housemates,
Yep.
domestic life partners.
That's probably more accurate.
Well,
But anyway,
not necessarily a bad thing.
getting back to the point. I've seen it firsthand.
that
Like
path.
Tyler might be stuck on like a certain riff, but he just adds like a pretty basic sort of like hip hop sort of drum track and maybe like a bass line, and then he gets those creative juices flowing. He sees it in a new light. Albert Einstein says, if you ever want to, solve a problem, you have to look at it from another angle, right? So it's basically that.
Pretty much.
Well, my experience with like writing my own stuff has been me playing on acoustic guitar, but me modifying the way I play to be able to imitate drums and bass while I'm playing guitar. So I have a very percussive style of playing, but now I'm kind of breaking down the style of playing and like incorporating that. So like the bass notes I'd be using, I'd actually play on a bass with the recording, and then the drum, like the rhythm I'm doing that, I'd be actually, programming in. And yeah, it's been a big tool to understand how I play and how I write, but obviously getting it to sound bigger and fuller as well. So
Yeah, and that's
it's crazy.
like I work with one of them in my brass band. They've started, Tim and Brendan, who started Honk Tank.
It's a great name.
It is a great name, and there is a good reason. Tim plays guitar, and Brendan, who is a very talented multi-instrumentalist, has a sousaphone, so one that you sit in and play.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
And plays
wow.
plays drum and bass drum and snare at the same time. So he's doing the bass lines with the guitar and doing the kit stuff. And he will use
Three brains.
yeah, it's really odd to watch, but it's really cool. And he will use the instrument like tapping it and making this massive piece of brass that's stuck to you almost a part of the percussive aspect of
Yeah.
it. So it's really cool to
That
watch.
sounds fascinating, man.
It
Yeah,
does.
I don't know how he figured out that he can do it. However, he did. And yeah,
Are these guys local or?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I have to
they-
check them
Honk
out.
Tank.
Yeah, Honk Tank. They're on Facebook and all that sort of stuff. They were at the Blues and Roots Festival quite a bit as well.
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
We played that quite a bit too, but we didn't get a chance to check out much of the talent, unfortunately.
No.
No, it's like the one festival that happens in Bendigo where I don't have to play. So
Yeah,
I was actually
can
able to
enjoy-
wander around and go,
Yeah.
oh, look, stuff to listen to.
There's some great artists around that weekend, man.
Faux show, man.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like it's just the level, and seeing bands that have come back each year and seeing how they've progressed. Like you've done a crap load of work on everything that you've done, which
Yeah.
is excellent.
It's nice seeing progression.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's why I like seeing bands, like, especially on a local level. I don't want to see the local bands play too often. So it is a fresh experience every time.
Yeah,
And if you know they're playing the same stuff, they're a pretty average band then, aren't they?
Pretty much.
Same
yeah.
with like, like comedy and stuff like that and any form of art craft. Like if you see someone like, and their set hasn't changed or anything like that, it's like, come on, guys.
yeah, exactly. You got to be open to it, and broad-minded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stagnation kills.
There are plateaus. I understand that, but yeah,
Mhm.
bring a show. Come on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it, man. You got to be willing to like change and adapt and whatever. Like, I'm still working on my music, my own solo music, and I've decided I'm going to scrap everything I have, and I'm going to start over with a different style that suits my voice more, instead of trying to like put a square peg in a round hole, which is like, I write some really good rock music, but my voice doesn't suit it. So you got to.
What does your voice suit? Can you-
Death metal?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I do. I look, to be honest with you, I don't know what my voice suits, but I have an idea that, like, kind of like folk rock, Americana blues rock, that kind of stuff. That's where my heart is at for guitar playing right now, and that's what I think I can kind of fit.
I could say that. Yeah.
So I mean, but you got to be willing to just strap away the chains and just be like, okay, I just want to change and get on with it.
Yeah.
Like, stand-up comedians, they do a yearly special every year, obviously, as yearly implies, because they're writing a new set and whatever. I always look forward to the Louis C.K. stuff every year.
Yeah. He's the guy that kind of popularized that
Yeah, he did.
approach to comedy, really.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Definitely.
So, don't get too stagnant or stag or whatever
Yeah.
the kids say these days.
Two stag.
Two stag.
I would be using that. Thank you very much.
I won't, but thank you.
Your vocabulary is a bit more in depth than mine.
Quite.
Possibly.
Ta.
Possibly. It does seem to be something that people
indubitably.
characterize me by.
I'm going to opt for the word possibly.
I'll take possibly 400 or 500.
The amount of people that have no idea what Jeopardy is incredible.
Really?
Yes, they do not know. They have no idea. And then when you sing the theme music at them when they're
Who is
thinking,
Jeopardy?
Ah.
Can I just say?
Yeah.
I on Netflix there's Jeopardy now, and
Is there?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
Oh my God.
random.
Okay.
There's like
Came out
there's like
recently.
2 seasons of Jeopardy, and I saw it there. I just put it on, and I had no idea what was happening. Everyone is just so fast with what they're
Yep.
doing. Who says yada yada yada? It's just
incredible.
non-stop.
Yeah. But then when you do
And
the
they're really hard questions. Like, who the hell knows this stuff?
this is not one of your sort of almost piss take quiz shows.
Yeah,
this is hard.
This is
is
the quiz
legit.
show.
Yeah.
I do like I enjoyed what I watched. I was in the same boat as Jax. I put it on. I'm like, oh sweet, there's a game show on Netflix. I'm gonna check that out, like a quiz thing. And then I put it on. I'm like,
It's not what you think.
I need a tutorial, like just to understand the game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm decent at trivia. My knowledge is mildly broad.
Yes.
but like, yeah, just understanding how the game works.
the lingo and everything.
Yeah.
You got to
Like-
watch it to understand how it works. Like, you got to go into it
Got
and
to
be like,
persevere.
what
yeah.
the hell are they doing? And by like the 5th episode, you're like, you got to answer like the questions are the answer, and you have to answer the question. So like For example, you'll pick video game category, right? And
That makes so much more sense.
they have different tiers, so it'll start from like $500 to like $20,000.
Builds
So
up,
like that's
yeah.
that's really dramatic. But like video games for 500, and it'll be like this video game character is started as like an arcade or something like that, and you'll say, who is Pac-Man? You know what I mean? That's what that is. So you have to answer the question.
Ah,
You have to answer the question with what the question is.
I understand. So there's the category, then the question. Yeah.
The category, then the answer, then you answer the question.
Yeah.
I know it's
You-
backwards, but
you
that's
get the
how it
middle
works.
part,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yes,
yes,
pretty much.
it's a very it's incredible what they can do.
I understand now.
Yeah.
Now it's nowhere near as hard.
No.
Yeah, no. Once you should sort of, it's a very difficult concept to explain, but once you do it,
Yeah,
people are like,
yeah.
That's why like when people answer like who is or what is, it's like what?
Yeah, we watched it going it. I'm like, that's not a question. And that's not an answer.
I know the answer to that question, and that's not it.
yeah,
That's exactly it. But no,
What is Pac-Man? He's
fun
like
game.
a yellow dude.
what is Pac-Man? Yeah, it's
He's a yellow dude. No, that's Homer Simpson.
dough.
Hey.
Well, speaking of Pac-Man, it sounds like it's time to pack it in.
While we pack it in, I've got a little proposition for you, Eric.
Yes.
Yes.
We're famous on this podcast for having like little trades and deals and swindles.
The
along
New York
the
Stock
way.
Exchange live.
oh, interesting.
This is a genuine trade offer. A genuine trade offer. I only just saw on Facebook moments before coming to the studio
Yes.
today that you've put the Mustang in the far corner
Yes.
of the room for sale. Like you want to get rid of it. I'm not
Yes.
sure if it's up for trade offers or anything.
Maybe.
That's
Maybe.
an incredibly pretty guitar.
It is very pretty, isn't it?
Depends on the timing. Depends on the timing.
I understand. You're trying to go overseas and you probably want some money to throw around. But
However,
do I
if,
have an
if it
offer
doesn't,
for
if it doesn't
you?
sell, yes. Let's entertain this.
I better show you what's in the case over here. So bear
Oh,
with me
yeah.
a second.
This is a decent offer, man. I know my values. I know my
Is it what I think it is?
in that box is part of what you think it is.
Part of what I think it is. I don't know. It comes with the case. Well, that's half the battle.
This is incredible for me to watch because I have no idea what's going on.
Oh man.
Now I know.
That is not what I thought it was. I thought you were going to trade me your Gretsch.
Well,
Hang on a second.
Let's talk about it.
I
Now
love
look
that
at this.
bass.
Feel it, touch it. Note the buckle rash on the,
The
back for a
buckle
bit of
rash.
added carousel.
That's a Spectre Legend 5-string. I used to own that back in the Navy Blue days, and it's very nice.
Spectre
That
Legend
is-
5 with a
Wow.
slightly extended scale.
35
What are they called
inch.
when they're like powered pickups?
Active.
Active, yeah.
It's
So
active.
You got a preamp in there. That's what the second knob is on the bottom one.
So you can add like it's almost like a bit of gain and dirt, a bit of drive.
You've got
naturally.
24 frets on this thing, dude.
Yeah.
All jumbo too.
It's 2 octave.
All right. So I'm not actually sure of the value of your
Yes.
Mustang. The value of that varies from like, I don't know, 500 to 1,000
Yeah.
secondhand.
Yeah.
I'm willing to offer you the
Yes.
Spectre
Yes.
and my Gretsch.
Oh shit.
I told you that's a fair trade, dude.
Oh shit. Wow.
For the Fender Mustang.
That is
Can I be the logic here?
yes.
You don't need that guitar. You've just bought this beautiful
Yes.
Stratocaster. You could use an extended scale bass. Having that fifth string with a lot of the heavier
True.
stuff, a bit more options as far as your bass playing.
True.
And you also-
Semi-hollow Gretsch is Well, I'll
tell you
in
that
a
the-
league of its own.
The Gretsch is not something I have, and nor do I have something like it. That's the thing appealing to me. What I will say, I'll be upfront with you. I'm looking for cash before I go. If it doesn't sell, I will entertain that offer.
That's great.
I will let you know.
You got 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's exactly it. So
I just want to get back on Team Fender, man, and I'm itching for that. So
yeah, well, that's the thing.
I'll
is
let you
like
sit on it.
now that I've got the Strat, I don't need anything else really. Like in terms of a variety of stuff, and the
I'll buy your Les Paul off you then.
sure the Mustang's just going to sit. That's the only thing, and
Yeah.
I'd rather rehome it to somebody who would obviously appreciate it. And to be honest with you, like I bought it and it never really grabbed me. It's one of those guitars like it was obviously an impulse buy for sure, and I bought it. I restored it to original
Like all of
condition.
my guitars. I
Yes, that's exactly it. So yeah, I will get back to you on that.
Yeah.
That's a really fair trade considering what it is. So
That is one stunning bass.
to be
It's
continued.
so nice, man.
Yeah.
Have a look. Have a look. If you
It's
like.
When Jackson told me he was considering this offer, I'm like, don't get rid of that bass. I like that bass.
The fact is, I just haven't touched it in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, it gets a bit of regular use. If anything, I just clean it and restring it more than I actually play. The amount of time I put into, like,
At the end of the day,
You
man,
know?
you're a guitarist. You're not a bass player.
I'm a guitarist. I love the twang of single coils like that.
That's got a great vintage feel.
It's
to
got
it,
a
too.
it's got a P90 sound to it because before it had a humbucker in it, and I replaced it with a Lay Sensor Burgundy, which is really a hotter pickup.
How does it feel to have a bass in your hands, mate? Just like old times. Hey?
Yes, just like old times. I'll just keep this now, thanks.
It suits you.
I was
Suits
actually
you.
reminiscing. I think it was year 10 when we were in year 10. We did that guitar camp just down the road at
Yes,
that.
yes, at the old army barracks on Mollison Street.
That's right. That's right. And you and I were in the bass community at that
Yes,
stage.
we
and
were.
That was good fun. It was
Yes.
a great couple of
The
days.
good old days.
It was.
If only I did that instead of normal school, I'd be,
Oh my god! Music
it called?
camp. Just
Music
instead
camp?
of school would have been fantastic.
Was it like a summer sort of thing? Or?
just 3 days during the.
It was to complement Music Week
That's
and give the guitarists something to do similar. So you're on your intensives with kids from different schools, and then go and do your big concert. So Music Week does it over 5 days. Guitar camp or week or whatever it was did it over a couple of days. But I'm not sure what's happening with it now. But then again, I'm not involved in BIM.
Yeah.
So.
But that was good times doing that. Do you remember a certain one, Sebastian Young, throwing a guitar through the wall?
Yes,
Whoa.
that was a fascinating day for me to watch. It was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
That is a very
Stop.
I don't know whether we've told this story on camera.
Oh,
This is a famous story. I'm aware of it.
So one of me and Jackson's mutual best friends, Seb Young.
We'll get him on the show sometime.
Yeah, he'd be
100%.
yeah, he's a local DJ and all that kind of stuff. He's playing this Friday night for those interested. Handlebar from 8 o'clock. I believe.
This is going to be released well and truly after the gig.
but check it out.
Yep.
Anyway, he had, I think it was an Ibanez RG at the stage, which is
I
like
think everybody at that stage had an Ibanez
that was
electric
the-
guitar.
Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the many that had one, and he even had strap locks on this guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, our good friend Seb was very much into hardcore. And,
Doing the throw. Is that what
Yeah,
he was
so
doing?
he was doing like guitar swings. And
Why
all
else
that
do you
kind of
buy
stuff.
strap locks?
Honestly, I tried to do the same thing once, but I was too scared to do it.
Yeah.
Here's what happened though. He was a little too close to one of the walls in the room that we were playing in, and as he was like doing his big finale swing,
This whole
the guitar goes backwards into this wooden wall.
Oh, shit.
Makes a gigantic hole in the
Yep.
wall.
Because you're in an
two
army
of
barracks,
the-
like it's probably made of asbestos, but
Yes.
So we're probably all going to die because of that incident.
Probably.
Thanks, Seb.
thanks, Seb.
Anyway, the classic line, and this was what, year 10? That would have been
Yeah.
2008? A good 10 years ago? 2009?
Oh yeah, definitely. 2008, 2009.
Yeah. And it's still something I bring up when I see him, but he goes through the wall. Everyone sees it. Everyone hears it. It was
Yep.
incredibly loud. And he utters out the words,
Oh no, my guitar!
It was very much like that. For me, as somebody who jumped into bass from the classical stream, I'm just sort of like seeing all these people and I see that and I'm just like, why am I here?
I'm going to go play brass again.
It's like I'm here with my Yamaha bass. Nobody else has anything as Yamaha.
I was jealous of Yamaha.
We're all
bass,
Team
man.
Yamaha here, man.
Absolutely.
All
Oh,
Team
I'm-
Yamaha.
that's
Yamaha
All
gets
my
to-
gear down here is owned by Yamaha.
That's why I'm buying a BB series bass. So,
I'll tell you what's a follow up on that story. Probably also to wrap it up because we got Sean Orr coming here in about 2 minutes.
We do.
I was playing in a hardcore band, similar to that scenario, and the guitar player at the time, one of the two guitar players at the time, was known for doing the swing, and I just so happened to be playing at the same time. Obviously, just a little ways across the stage. He does it. The guitar goes off of him and lands on the floor. While he's playing live in front of people, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh shit!
Yeah.
How do you recover from that?" Just picks it up and keeps going. Luckily, it wasn't too out of tune, but man, it'd be embarrassing really doing it live. I've never been ballsy enough to do it.
I don't understand it. I love heavy metal and hardcore music, but I'm not even athletic
It's
enough
just a
to do
showman thing. Like
that. So,
you can look them up. Just look
It's
up
just showman.
guitar
Yeah.
fail, bass fail. They're on there on YouTube.
There's more
man. Like,
fails than good stories, I'm pretty
absolutely.
sure.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
that's exactly it.
care about my kit too much.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
As you should. Well, that's it. That's this is the last live room podcast for the year.
Last for 2018, folks.
I'm going home, so we won't have a chance to do anything. So this is November 28th right now, but we're going to release. We've got a back catalog that we've got to put out, and I'm going back next week. So this will be released while I'm over there having a white Christmas. So Merry Christmas
Very
to
nice.
me, bitches.
Oh,
Yes,
snap.
enjoy that. So it's going to be bloody hot here.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, I don't know how you do it.
It's not fun.
It's
It's
if that's
not-
any consolation.
yeah.
It's not enjoyable.
we have cold meat and salad. You guys have like roast turkey, I'm presuming. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I'm surprised your Christmas trees aren't pedestal fans at this stage, man. Like,
That's a much better idea for home.
Oh, goodness me.
Jared Hanley, thanks for joining the podcast
Absolutely,
this evening.
man.
it's been a pleasure.
If there's anything you want to like plug out, we can add a couple links. Like, you got any like pages for any of the
Ooh.
bands you're in?
Uh,
Just let it out there.
Cool. Yeah, like now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Bendigo Youth Brass, which is the band that I conduct, is on Facebook. City of Greater Bendigo Brass Band is on Facebook as well. That would be fantastic. And follow your local orchestras and any local ensemble that does lots of community gigs and is run on your support. 'Cause
Support
that's
local music.
That's integral to keeping everybody entertained and culture alive.
Yes.
Very well said.
So-
Good
I
stuff.
agree.
Thanks for
you
coming
having me
on.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
2018, we're out.
See you later.
See you, bitches.